So we got our shower ready to go. The pan's already installed. And in this case, the drain's a little closer to the front, and because part of the reason is because there's going to be a seat in here, like a handicap seat in here. So I left the drain, I only moved it a little bit from the front. There was a tub here, and I only moved the drain back a little bit from the front so there'd be plenty of room to make a little bit of a flatter area. It'll have some pitch on it, but it'll be a little bit flatter back here so that seat will rest on there evenly and it won't be unstable. If the drain was in the middle, there would be more of a pitch all the way around and the seat wouldn't be quite as stable. So that's why I did that. So you can see all the rocks in, pans in. Ordinarily, what you would do is pitch underneath the pan to give it some slope so all the water drains out well. But what we're going to do here is we're going to put a waterproofing membrane on top of the mud work and on top of the walls. So in effect, it acts as the shower pan. So this ends up being just kind of an insurance policy in case that was to fail. So that's why we didn't pitch underneath the pan. Now what you're going to need in order to do the shower floor, we got the mud mixed up already. So you're going to need that. You're also going to need something to cover the drain, which I'm using a big piece of metal. And you're going to need some tools. You're going to need some trowels. I got this is basically your basic flat stucco trowel. I got a finishing trowel, a little longer. I've got a float, which is just a wood float. I'll use that to pack in the mud as I go. And then I've got some sticks that I'll use to screed the mud with. So, and these sticks are just basically regular stop that you'd use on a door, but it works really nicely for using it as a screed stick because of the way it's shaped. It's got a nice profile. Okay, and then in addition to that, I'll need a couple of levels. So I've got a 2-foot level, and then I'll use a 4-foot level to a certain degree. And you'll see how I use those as I do the floor. So the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out where we need to get a ledger line around the floor. Now this floor is pretty level, so we can just go off the floor. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to, first of all, go over here to the drain. I'm going to crank it all the way down. This is an adjustable drain. Crank it all the way down until it stops. And then I'm going to crank it up some, maybe about 4 turns. So, start making a mark, and I'll base it off this screw right here. I'm just going to go 4 full turns. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And then, so that's going to be where the mud is going to finish up right there. So from here, I'm going to measure out with a level. And I'm going to use, some of it is just kind of guesswork. You just want a nice pitch. And you want a nice, as you look at your level, you want to be a nice, so if I finish my mud here, down to here, I'll be a nice pitch from there to there. So I'm going to go ahead and make that my level line here. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do also is I'm going to see how that same line will work on the other end. Now, since this shower is so long, I need to make sure that I've got enough pitch from one end to the other. And I may have to adjust it because of that. So I use my long level, and I put it on the wood, and I put it on my drain. Now, I'm a little more flat than what I want to be, so in order to keep my same level all the way around, what I'm going to do, instead of trying to raise that off of that 2x4, because that's a nice, I like that thickness, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to crank the drain down about a turn. So I'm just going to go about 1 full turn down, see how that does. And I'll test it again with my level, and that's looking pretty good, and I think I'll go about another half a turn down. And then I'm looking at my level, and that's a pretty good pitch there. I've got some good drainage there. So, in addition, what I'm going to do is, instead of marking right on top of the board here to get my mark, I'm going to lay my marker on top of there, so I'll add a little bit to it. And it's just kind of a basic. It's not particularly doesn't have to be exact. You're just basically giving yourself a mark so you'll know where to pack your mud into. And I'm going to adjust it a little bit here because before I was a little lower, so. I'm just going to go all the way around. And now, like I said, this is just kind of a general mark. That corner is a little boogered up there, but when I put the waterproofing membrane on there, it'll fill all that in. My cover for the drain, I'm going to put it on top of the drain so that no mud goes down in the drain. You can also tape it. I like this, and you'll see why in a minute. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding some mud to the floor. I'm just going to dump it in. Roughly. Take my float, the wooden float, and I'm just going to start spreading it in. Start packing it in. It needs to be really tight so it doesn't have any voids. Packing it in pretty hard. Use your trowel as like a shovel. Start on your drain. Try to get down to your line. You can see what you're doing. And you can take that cover. Now this is nice because it's got some weight to it. So what I can do is I can use this big piece of heavy metal, and I can kind of get my drain started right there. Just start moving around. This thing probably weighs about 5 or 10 pounds. And then so what I'm going to do, once I do that, then I'm going to pack underneath the drain a little bit. Just to make sure I'm good in there. Underneath the drain. And I'm going to fill the dirt in again. The mud. And pack it in. Make sure you keep your drain covered. You don't want that concrete down in your drain. Fill it in, and then do it again. And then you can get that out of the way. Now you may find that you need to fill in just a little bit around there. And once you got that, you can take one of your screed sticks. I got one that's too long here. I need from about the center of the drain out to where I'm going there. So I'm going to break this one off. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my stick here to start from the drain up to my line here. So it'll give me if I just follow that and don't dig in too hard, it's going to give me a natural pitch. So I'm just going to kind of work this a little bit at a time. Work the mud back. Work it into my line. Like so. I'm just going to keep working that back. I'm going to use the sticks to do that. And this, it takes some finesse. Okay, so you work it some, you get it kind of evened out. You take your flat trowel, your big wide trowel, and you just smooth it out. Now there's going to be more pitch on the drain down here, on the floor down here towards the drain, than there'll be from the back side to the drain. It's just a shorter distance, and it's the same we're starting with. Same height to start with. While I'm putting more mud, I'm going to cover the drain up again. Okay, so that way I don't get any mud down the drain. Okay, so obviously I need some more mud. Obviously I don't have enough. And I'm going to start working that to my line on the back side. Kind of even it out. What I'm going to do basically is to keep packing it in towards the line. So basically now what I'm going to do, I've got it all packed into the line. I'm going to go ahead and take my longer screed stick and I'm going to start working it from the drain up to my line. I'm trying to keep it. So now this is a pretty long distance to the drain, so I want to be careful not to dig in too much. And you're trying to avoid is ending up with any hollows in the floor. You do not want to put your hand down on the floor. I guess that would be a perfect place to put a hollow. If you need to kind of lean over the floor, you can use a float to disperse your weight. I can put these floats like this, and I won't put any depressions down the floor. So as I'm screeding that away, whatever I get screeded back, I'm going to just remove it off the floor with a trowel, like so. You always want to start with a lot more than you need on the mud, because you are going to be removing some, but you couldn't do it with the exact right amount. It would be impossible to try to work it that way. And then you just work back from the other way. And you can take your shorter sticks and just clean it up. As you go, you can use your level to see how you're doing. Make sure you got a good pitch going on, and then you can also see if there's any depressions underneath your level. And like back here, so you got a depression back here. So we'll clean this up to where we don't have any depressions underneath the level. So it's nice and smooth, and it's got a nice pitch all the way. Little divots and stuff like right there. Put a little mud on there and smooth it in. Any little places that you have like that. And it's real, try to get it nice and smooth with your trowel. Now when I'm pulling my trowel and pushing my trowel, I'm lifting up on the, go that way, I'm lifting up towards me, I'm going to pull back that way so I'm not digging in. Go slow until you get the hang of it. I dug in a little bit there. If you dig in a little bit, you just kind of run it back over across there and it'll fill it in. It's not tilted the wrong way. And if you start finding a spot where there might be a little bit of high spot, you just basically take your stick and you kind of scoop it out a little until you get it to where you want it. And you just keep doing that back and forth until you get it nice and pitched, because you want the water to drain out of the floor. Once you get done with all that, what you're going to do is you're going to take your drain, your adjustable drain, and you're going to crank it up out of the mud, so that when you put your tile down, you'll be able to adjust it flat with the tile. And usually what I'll do is just take a pair of needle nose pliers or a couple screwdrivers, stick them in there, and crank the drain up so it doesn't get stuck to the floor there. And then after that, you waterproof the floor, and we'll show you how to do that in the next video.